People put on LinkedIn, I'm in stealth mode. And I'm like, of course, everyone's in stealth mode. Like, it's one of the great struggles of a new startup is to please stop it. Like,
it's like, I'm in nobody cares mode.
Yeah, of course we're in stealth mode. Who's looking?
You're listening to the Startup Podcast. This is an educational episode. In-depth masterclasses about the concepts essential to building, running, and investing in Silicon Valley-style startups. Whether you're a founder, investor, or operator in a startup, you'll gain insights into the principles that power high-growth disruption, the same way Facebook, Google, and Uber do it. The conversation starts now.
Hi, I'm Yaniv Bernstein.
And I'm Chris Saad.
And I'm Jason Cohen.
And in today's bonus episode, we're chatting once again with Jason Cohen, multi-time unicorn founder, about some of his Buddhist-style koans, not koans anymore, koans, that he posts regularly on Twitter and LinkedIn. These are cute little nuggets of wisdom presented in a really fun way. I absolutely love them. So we're going to go through a few of our favorite ones with Jason and really break down what they mean and have a bit of a discussion about the implications for founders. This is a bit of a fun one, but it doesn't mean that there's also not a lot of useful stuff for you to learn. So Jason Cohen and his koans right after this break. This episode of the Startup Podcast is brought to you by Vanta. I get it. You hear security and compliance and you think time-consuming and stressful, but it's critical for scaling your business. Achieving compliance with ISO 27001, SOC 2, Essential 8, or other in-demand frameworks can unlock major growth for your company, help you sell to the enterprise, and establish customer trust. And with Vanta, you can get compliant in weeks instead of months and save up to 85% of associated costs. And just for TSP listeners, you can get $1,000 off Vanta when you go to vanta.com/TSP. That's VANTA.com/TSP for the Startup Podcast. So you mentioned Buddhism, Jason, and one of the things I've really been enjoying on your Twitter and LinkedIn, well, I'm surprised you're not calling them this, but koans. So a koan, spelled Koan, I've looked it up. A koan is a paradoxical anecdote or riddle without a solution, used in Zen Buddhism to demonstrate the inadequacy of logical reasoning and provoke enlightenment. And I love your little koans, and I thought, yes, let's go through a few of them, and then you could just tell us, a little bit of the backstory or interpretation. I think this is just going to be a bit of fun. So I thought we would start with koan number 35, which goes like this. If you don't finish baking the cake, you can't eat it at all. If you don't finish writing the article, no one will read it at all. If you rush off to make the next product before the first one is working. And the student was enlightened. Tell us about that one.
Like you said, the definition is maybe a paradox and unanswered. Mine are sometimes paradoxical, and sometimes it's obvious what it's trying to say. Because, of course, it's a tweet, and I'm not, a great Buddhist writer. Like, there's some things where if they're half done, they're not done. Then they have no value at all. If you start baking a cake and don't finish, you have nothing to eat. And it's very common right now on the internet, especially in indie hacker land, that people start a little project, maybe they put a beta in the world, maybe they launch something on Product Hunt, and they're right off to the next idea, and then they're right off to the next idea, and nothing ever takes on. Sometimes they're even apparently very proud of having like $300 in MRR. Maybe next month they'll have 400 and I grew 25%, And then they hold up certain people like levels and say, see, he did a whole lot of things, so that's me. Not realizing there's only like a couple of people they can name who have ever succeeded doing that, which should tell you, it can happen. Their existence proof that it could happen, but it almost never does. That means it's not a good strategy. Almost everyone who has a company that's successful was not running 7 different half-baked products and then one worked. That's almost never the origin story. It is like every once in a while it is. I know. But like the vast majority of the case, that's not it. They went all in on something. They pivoted they sought it out. Finally it hit, and that's the usual origin story. It usually starts with some sort of thing inside them. They're like, oh, I have to do this. Not I'm going to do 7 barely working projects and then one will magically hit. That's actually a terrible strategy that almost never works, as evidenced by you can only name a few people where it's worked. So this is a kind of backlash against that, saying like, when you make these little half-baked products, it's not going to work, and you can make a lot of them. That's not going to work. And so, of course, this is sort of an unspoken, I guess, way to say that. One thing that this is like it says there, and the definition is, it says it's a tool for discovering your own enlightenment. And in this case, a lot of times I'll post one of these and people will come up with different answers of what they think it means and what they think it means for them. Some people will look at that and not take my meaning. They'll take just the opposite. And they'll say, yeah, that's why you have to bake a lot of cakes to see which one's good, which is not what I meant. But that's okay. That's okay. Because if I wanted to say something very direct, I should just say it. The point of these is to like tickle your brain, and then you think something which probably is what you already thought, because that's how we are. But okay, so like maybe it'll stimulate some thinking.
Yeah, you're allowed to have the wrong thought. It's okay. This is clearly saying if you don't finish the cake, you don't have it's binary, right? You either have a lump of like egg and flour or you have a cake. It's not really. But it's worse than this, though, I think, Jason. We've talked about this on the show a few times. You're talking about people who like live on Hacker News and race to launch as many hacks as possible. But there are many serious founders and serious companies who launch a half-baked product and then throw their arms up and go, well, that didn't work. And then they go launch another different half-baked product
Right.
and another one. And they're still confused why neither or none of the products are working.
Yeah.
This is not a race to launch little cool hacks. It is a failing strategy to try to launch real businesses and real products. And this is a very, very nice Koan. I'm liking these Koans. I'm just learning about them. So this is great. All right, next one.
Let's go Koan 29. What's the lifestyle of a bootstrapper? Working 80 hours a week, tired but truly living. And what's the lifestyle of a VC-funded founder? Optimistically changing the world. A solo CPA, meaning an accountant. Good money, fun on weekends. So, which one is a lifestyle business? And the student was enlightened. I think it's particularly relevant to today's topic.
Yes, I hope that one does speak for itself. Of course, this is me as a backlash against people who pejoratively use the word lifestyle business to describe a small or bootstrap business. Again, I don't live in Silicon Valley. It should be clear that even though I've built large and small companies, I have my own path, and everyone should have their own path. But I really hate it when someone's like, oh yeah, I have this business. And then the response from someone else, again, in a negative way, is, oh, so just a lifestyle business. And I just hate that. And so this is my retort to that, and hopefully a slightly more artistic way of, well, fuck you. It's a slightly nicer way of saying that, which is, everything's a lifestyle. Are you kidding? You're telling me you've lived in the Valley for a decade. You're telling me that isn't a lifestyle? Are you out of your mind? That's exactly what it is. It's totally a lifestyle. Everyone should find their own place. That's a good thing, right?
It's so funny. You mentioned that one of the things with these Koans is that people often interpret them differently to how you intended. And you said this one should speak for itself, but actually I interpreted it differently.
Good.
Which is, I think, generally when that term lifestyle business is used pejoratively in that negative way, as you say, it is the funded startup industry, whether it is VCs or funded founders, throwing shade at bootstrapped founders, saying, oh, well, you're not really serious. You're just doing this for the lifestyle. The implication is a relaxed lifestyle, good money, fun on weekends, right? But the truth is neither the VC-funded founder nor the bootstrapped founder is having this easy kind of lifestyle.
Right.
It's people who are staying away from startups altogether, like the CPA who is having a lifestyle. So again, a different interpretation.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because the implication there is that the lifestyle business is you're prioritizing having an easy, fun life, doing what you want rather than prioritizing the business.
That's a great interpretation. I love it. See, this was kind of the fun. It's like, they're not necessarily as on the nose, but that means we get to tickle and, I don't know, think of things. Even bootstrapping is a funny word because sometimes you raise a little bit of money, so it's hard to say. Years ago, Heaton Shaw had the word self-funded business. So is it self-funded or VC funded? Because one way or another, you're not getting enough money right now from it, right? So it's funded somehow, So I think self-funded versus VC funded puts it on sort of this even footing, at least verbally. And of course, given that, you'll have different constraints and different kinds of things you're doing as a result of that. So that sounds right. But the lifestyle is just like, what are you talking about? Are you telling me Elon Musk doesn't have a lifestyle? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, and there's something else that we've actually teased out on this show, which I think is very valuable to repeat, is there's often this lifestyle business thing is conflating two different things. There is your source of capital, which is, as you correctly say, is it self-funded or is it VC? And that may change over time. But then there's your intent. So are you intending for it to be a quote unquote lifestyle business, meaning upside capped or growing organically, versus your intent to be a venture scale, large scale business? So yeah, there's a lot of conflation, confusion, prejudicial terminology, prejudicial thinking. And that's right. It's an interesting world.
But again, like different interpretations, I now understand, Jason, what you're saying is whatever way you choose to live your life, that is your lifestyle. But also going back to the topic that we were discussing in the main section of our discussion, this is an iterative game, right? So your lifestyle now will not be your lifestyle in 5 years. And also the point you made is like, well, founders actually do want to make a bunch of money. They may admit it to themselves or others, or they may not, but they do, right? And so you might be saying, I'm sacrificing the lifestyle that I wish to have today in order to be able to have it in 5 years. So is that a lifestyle business?
I just don't like the word because it's used to be mean. So already I don't like it. And then if you're like, all right, let's take that out of it and just ask, but what is its underlying meaning? Because maybe that has utility. And then my observation is it has no utility. Describing a business as being one of lifestyle is not a useful adjective. There are many adjectives that are useful, like Chris just was saying. Exactly. Those are all very useful ways to characterize what is it. Cool, great. The word lifestyle, if we get rid of the emotional component, does not help us understand what it is. So it's a useless term except to be mean to somebody. So it's like, well, stop it. That's really what I was thinking when I wrote that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the implication, they're implicitly describing a particular kind of lifestyle.
No, I know what they're doing, but they're doing it in a mean way. If you want to do it a nice way, you'd say, hey, it's self-funded, and my intent is I want to take home $1 million a year post-tax and have a blast doing it. That's my goal.
Work 30 hours a week.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm trying to make $1 billion company and feed thousands of employees and have hundreds of thousands of customers. Cool. We're both doing something pretty cool. Like, I know that. I know what they're saying.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm kind of doing a backlash against the clearly pejorative intent of the phrase, right?
Companies like Atlassian, Quora, and 7,000 others use Vanta to build trust and prove security in real time. Automate compliance and start scaling your business today. Get $1,000 off Vanta when you go to vanta.com/TSP. That's VANTA.com/TSP for the Startup Podcast. Let's go for Koan 21 next, because I think this one is actually you being a little bit mean, but in a way that I agree with. Koan 21 says, the student says, I'm in stealth mode. The teacher asks, are other people desperately trying to find out what you're doing? No. Will it take a well-funded competitor more than 6 months to copy your idea if they wish to? No. And the student was enlightened.
Yes, okay, it could be mean. It's true. You can see what I'm reacting. You can see what's in my mind as I write. Right. Of course, people put on LinkedIn, I'm in stealth mode. And I'm like, of course, everyone's in stealth mode. Like, it's one of the great struggles of a new startup is to please stop it. Like,
it's like, I'm in nobody cares mode.
Yeah, of course you're in stealth mode. Who's looking? It's going to take you'll be so lucky if you can get out of stealth mode. If anyone would ever find out about you.
You could equally say I'm in a non-profit, right? It's like yes, you are. You're trying to get out of that, but you're in a non-profit.
You're going to have to advertise and yell on social media and beg people to give you any attention to try to not be stealth. Wearing it as like a badge of honor. It's like, yeah, just have a private GitHub repo and now it's in stealth mode. Congratulations. I'm really impressed.
Yeah. And of course, I think beyond the snark, I think the lesson here is people think that their idea is very valuable and needs to be protected. But the truth is, ideas are cheap. We've talked about that on the podcast before. And attention is valuable and very difficult to get. So the idea of trying to screen yourself from attention, it's like, sign my NDA before I'll tell you anything about my business, is like, it's laughable in all but a very tiny minority of cases.
I know the whole, like, ideas are cheap, execution's everything, and that sort of thing. I agree in the sense that too often people put too much value on their idea. And so to drag them away from that is good. But I don't actually agree with that usual line that like ideas are nothing and free and easy and everywhere and its execution's hard. I actually don't agree with that completely. I can hire people who are good at executing many, many things, and I'm not sure I can easily hire someone that has a great product idea. So yes, execution is super hard, of course, but I don't know. Like, I can easily make the counter argument. I think the thing about the stealth mode and the ideas is this idea of like, I'll keep it to myself and that will work. Now, again, I'm not saying you have to build in public. I'm not saying you need to broadcast your idea. I just think it's a little bit of hubris to say you're in stealth mode as if that was hard, as if that was like a feat, like you're in MI5 or something, No, you're not, right? And of course, I'm joking around a little there too, obviously. I'm not actually mad at anyone, right? Like, no. But so I get that. You don't necessarily want to broadcast it before you launch. But here's the thing. Then you launch, and launch may mean you just put a website up, or it may mean you do more. And now your idea is visible to everyone. You're no longer in stealth mode because you can't get any money from customers unless you get out of stealth mode. So now you're out of stealth mode. Now the clock's ticking. Now you're not in stealth mode. So every competitor can see it, and every new startup founder can see it too and maybe rip you off. If your idea sucks, then I'm not impressed that it was in stealth mode. But let's say your idea was great. Good for you for keeping it secret. But now it's not. So how long does it take for the next startup founder to copy it, or for an incumbent to go, let's add that as a feature? If the answer is it doesn't take that long, it doesn't really matter if it was in stealth because you're going to get ripped off anyway. Your business will have to have more to it than that. Just because a feature can be ripped off does not mean you have a bad idea. There's a lot of companies that are a feature that could be and even are ripped off, and it's fine because they have other attributes. They have good distribution, or their customers love them, or they're serving a niche that the bigger one doesn't. There's lots of reasons. Also, big companies actually aren't that good at making big new features. If it's a tiny feature, maybe, but big new things, actually big companies are not fast and not good at that, and they probably have other priorities. So although they could rip you off in 6 months, actually they probably won't. And so that's good news, but also it meant that being in stealth mode wasn't all that important, right? Because we just said they're not actually going to rip you off anyway. Don't worry about it. The truth is your business had better survive what happens in the many, many years after you're not in stealth mode. That's what you need to focus on. How do I build that value? And again, just because someone says I'm in stealth mode doesn't mean they don't agree with that. So I'm not really arguing against anybody per se, but that was in my mind when I was writing that.
I just love the whole, the Silicon Valley signaling and messaging game. That's just my favorite part of the whole thing is just, I'm in stealth mode because, I'm important and cool and interesting and everyone's trying to get a peek under the covers and I'm not going to let them. It's like, nobody gives a shit about what you're doing, dude.
Look, if you're Reid Hoffman and you have a new startup.
Yeah, he's in stealth mode.
He says it's in stealth mode. That's for that I believe.
Reid Hoffman's in stealth mode. You are irrelevant. That's the difference.
That makes sense. Because people do want to know what he's doing. Absolutely.
All right, Jason, those koans were a lot of fun. Thanks for sharing those. Folks, if you're listening, this is one of the many reasons to follow Jason on Twitter or LinkedIn because he posts these. I'm sure there are more to come. But yeah, it was a really fun discussion. So appreciate you going and diving into some of those.
Yeah, thanks so much. I write these and I'm not sure what people think. And they usually don't get as many likes and other stuff as my other content. And I don't care because I'm doing it because I like it. And so I like that you like it.
So how can people find you on the internet if they want to follow up with you or follow your work?
Yeah, so I've been writing for 17 years at asmartbear.com, bear like the animal. And I'm also asmartbear on Twitter.
And Yaniv?
I do most of my stuff on LinkedIn. I'm also at ybernstein on Twitter, where I put some of the stuff that might be too offensive for LinkedIn.
You can find me at chrissaad.com and chrissaad.com/newsletter, where you can subscribe there.
Those of you who listen regularly know that we have the Startup Podcast Pact. If you get value from what we give, you have signed on to the pact, which means that you leave us a written review, a shout out on LinkedIn or wherever you have your audience, and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite listening app. If you have an Apple account, even if you don't listen to us on Apple Podcasts, you can go there and leave us a written review. We love getting them. It means so much to us. And it helps us grow the show and keep doing what we're doing and bring you more great guests and great topics. Thanks so much for honoring the pact and supporting the show.
Thanks.
Today's episode of the Startup Podcast was brought to you by Vanta. To sell to the enterprise, proving security is essential. Vanta allows you to breeze your way through to SOC 2, ISO 27001, or Essential 8 compliance and unlock major growth for your company. Go to vanta.com/TSP today. That's VANTA.com/TSP for the Startup Podcast to claim your $1,000 off.